y'all, this is Tony Paradis. I'm a licensed dietitian and personal trainer, owner of Food and Fitness. Check out my website. I'm going to link that down below at foodandfitnessonline.com. Today, we're talking about high-intensity training, or in other words known as single set to failure, and how this can apply for both the intermediate and advanced lifters. We're talking about practical programming. So where can high-intensity training fit in for you? Now, you may have seen in some of my other videos, which I'll link here within, that high-intensity training is certainly not the best way to make gains. We know that the research done through the Journal of Strength and Conditioning that doing multiple sets leads to better gains in size and strength. But what I'm trying to say today is that sometimes optimal isn't what we're going to be able to achieve. So where would high-intensity training fit into somebody who's intermediate or advanced and at least be able to move you in the right direction? And that's what we're talking about with my practical programming. There are three areas we're going to cover today. We're talking about time crunch, the deload phase, and also neglected areas and corrective exercises for some of you guys. Now, if you are an advanced lifter, shame on you for having neglected areas or not doing your corrective exercises. But guess what? Usually somebody has some weaknesses just because they don't like working those parts. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the time crunch and where high-intensity training can fit in. You know what? Not everybody gets paid to be a professional bodybuilder or a professional athlete. Sometimes you got things going up and you're on a time crunch. Try to not hold the all or nothing, principle. Try to abandon that and say, at least if you're doing something, rather if you can't go to the gym and work 90 minutes, you don't go at all. No, go and get a few minutes, and that's what I'm here to talk about. Time crunch, priority principle. So if you do have at least some time, use the priority principle. Do your big moves with higher volume. Okay, smaller moves can have lower volume, or if you have a sport-specific movement or something like that, where you're trying to focus on the most, do your normal volume that you normally would. So for example, you might do squat, bench, and deadlift times 3 sets and do all of your assistant work and your isolation work at 1 set. So rather than just skip your isolation work, you can set up a circuit of high-intensity training, go and work your biceps, your triceps, your grip work, all that kind of stuff, and then get out of the gym. You'll save 20, 30 minutes than if you try to do everything for the full amount of volume. My example number 2 is kind of more of an extreme time crunch. We're going in and just doing all of your exercises, after warming up, of course, of 1 set as hard as you possibly can and take that to failure. Is that as beneficial as doing all 3 sets? No. Is it a step in the right direction? If you would have skipped that day anyway, I argue yes. Moving on, let's talk about the deload and where high-intensity training can fit in there. So deload is a reduction in one of the areas of your lifting capacity. So that's either going to be in your frequency. Some people for deload recommend, hey, just go ahead and take that full week off. You're deloading. Give your body and your joints some rest. Sometimes we recommend decreasing the volume, high-intensity training. Sometimes we recommend decreasing the intensity, so you might go in, do the same exact workout at 50, 70% of what you normally do, and sometimes you can even deload by changing the exercise. For example, if I'm doing a bench press, I might change that to an incline dumbbell chest press, and just the accommodation phase of maybe the first week of getting back into that exercise might count as a moderate deload for me. Well, if you use high-intensity training, you're going to be able to deload the volume. So if you're a person who likes to keep that intensity and likes to push yourself really hard, but you still know you need a deload, try high-intensity training. Let me know what you think down below in the comment box if you do. Number 3, and finally, neglected areas and corrective exercises. This is probably the most practical programming effect where high-intensity training can fit in for the intermediate and the advanced lifters. And this is where I personally use some of the application of high-intensity training. I'm not going to lie. I like my volume. I like to do, 5, 6 sets of deadlifts sometimes. But by the time you get done with all that, you're a big chunk into that workout time that you have. It's time to start speeding things up. So neglected areas and your corrective exercises, something versus nothing. Let's be real, y'all. A lot of times you're like, am I going to work my calves? Am I going to work my external rotation? Am I going to work my trap 3? Nah, you know, I'd rather do another set of deadlifts. I'd rather do another set of squats or bench press or something like that. And hey, I think that way too. You know, you get a lot of bang for your buck for the big compound movements. But you need to start doing something to achieve that health, that balance, and preventing injury and those sorts of things. If you start doing one single set versus nothing, look a year down from the line, you're going to be a lot farther than where you would have been if you did absolutely nothing. So that's my appeal to you guys. Let's say, you know, you're typically doing your squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, pull-up, row, the big basics, the things we know build a lot of muscle. Go ahead, do that. Do your 3 sets, do your 5 sets, whatever you want to do, but work in some external rotation. Okay, you can also work these things into supersets. You know, take for example, where if I may be doing a superset of a shoulder press supersetted with, I'm just going to pull out bicep curls, okay? Use high intensity training for that smaller muscle group for those bicep curls. So maybe I'm going to do a bicep curl for my first set, okay? Then I do my shoulder press. Now I'm back to where I would normally do bicep curls. Now let's do some external rotation. Back to the main exercise, coming back. Now let's work our trap 3, our isolation moves. Or I know you're neglecting calves. You need to work your calves out, guys, okay? You can't just go and do squat and deadlift and glute raises and all that stuff. You got to work your calves. If you hate working calves like I do, just do a set. Take it to failure. Go as hard as you possibly can, and you can do things more frequently that way. Trust me, you're going to be glad you did when summer rolls around and you're back wearing shorts. Work your grip work. You know, you don't have to do 4 or 5 sets of grip work. Do the wrist roller, do your flexors, extensors, that kind of stuff. Do a single set, take it to failure, and I promise you're going to be happy if you did. Guys, if you try out this stuff for my intermediate or advanced lifters, if you end up working in a single set taken to failure, let me know how it goes for you down below in the comment box. I'm always open to constructive criticism. Let me know what you think of these videos. Like it if you like it. Share it with your friends. I really appreciate it. My name is Tony Paradis. I'm a licensed dietitian and personal trainer, owner of Food and Fitness. Leave a comment down below. I think I've really beat a dead horse with that one. Check out my website at foodandfitnessonline.com. Hey, get a free copy of my book. Subscribe to my newsletter. Would love it if you did. And check us out on Facebook, /Food and Fitness. I'm always updating that stuff with recipes, ideas, and these videos, all that kind of stuff. So guys, Tony Paradis, licensed dietitian, personal trainer. I'm out. And stay tuned because I am not done on my series on high-intensity training. If you guys have a topic on this high-intensity training that you want me to cover, that you're curious, you want me to research for you, let me know. I'll be happy to do it. I'm out.